Hello, Social 20, and welcome back. So, we are going to start a new unit today. We're going to start Unit 2. And last time when we left off, we learned about nationalism and its relationship to identity. And in this second unit, we are going to be looking at the pursuit of national self interest. So our lesson objectives are posted here for today. And what we're really looking at, the big question, the big unit overarching theme for Unit 2 is to what extent should national interest be pursued? So we're going to try to answer these questions. There's no right or wrong answer to this. This is a very broad exploration of an issue, but we're going to look at what is the nation trying to accomplish, who benefits when a nation pursues their national self-interest, and who doesn't benefit. So we're going to look at a lot of key events in history in which circumstances have happened where nations have pursued their own national self-interest, and we're going to look at what are some of the benefits, what are some of the consequences of those actions. So when we're talking about national self-interest, we're really talking about a nation state acting in a way that is best for them. So doing some kind of, analysis of why a country would act the way they do or choose to trade with another country or not trade or engage in a conflict or not is a really important question. And in order to understand why countries would be involved in the pursuit of national self-interest, we need to know what motivates a country. So what we're going to look at today are what are the three core pursuits of national self-interest. So what are the three reasons why a country would act? Okay, or not act in a lot of situations too. And one of the main ones is the first one, you might want to write these down, is safety and security. So in history, when we're starting to look at events that are going to come up in this unit, we're going to look at a lot of examples of times when nations and nation states have pursued the goal of security or safety, or actually the threat of security against them. So Canada has typically kind of taken the stance that we don't get involved in a lot of conflicts in terms of the pursuit of safety and security because our military is not very large. We don't have the kind of relationships with countries that are very, conflict driven. So one of our, pursuits of safety and security has been minimal compared to some countries. We have, of course, entered into World War, underneath a colony of Britain, and we're going to talk about that later. But really, a country is very, very compelled to act when their safety is threatened. Okay, so if somebody has made either an attempt on a country, we see countries retaliate. We see countries have a plan, a military that's built up in the, off chance that they are attacked and their security is going to be a threat, they are going to act. Okay, so every country has a slightly different goal towards this, but this is a main reason why countries either will prevent a security incident into their country or they will pursue some kind of a conflict. The second reason why nations will act or pursue their own self-interest is really around beliefs and values. So in Canada, we've looked at the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms and some of the core beliefs behind that. Some of them such as equality, freedom, mobility. And so as a country, these are some of our core beliefs. And so it will cause us to act in situations, in a few things. If we see another country violating one of these beliefs and values, at times we will involve ourselves because one of the beliefs that we have is for equality and freedom. And so we try to spread those to other countries. And one of the things as well is our beliefs and values can also be used in times of humanitarian aid. So if there is really no benefit back to us in giving, let's say, aid in terms of health crisis, we saw the Ebola crisis, Canada gave a bunch of aid, we will often get involved not for something that we get back, but just simply because it is one of our beliefs and values, and that is to provide for others and to make sure that everybody has the basics, necessities of life, or the accessibility to them. And one of the third and the last reasons why a country will be involved in national self-interest is for economic prosperity. This is probably the largest motivator for a country to act. And really, we see this related to almost any decision. So this can be big things. It's usually based in finances, but it can really show through other things. So Canada has to decide, do we trade with other countries? And who do we trade with? And why do we trade with them? Mainly, it will be because of economic prosperity. So when we think about the benefits of trading, you looked at this a little bit in Social 10. And when we talk about, well, what are we good at in Canada? Let's say we make timber really well, we have oil. Those are things that we can provide to other countries. It's not in our self-interest to learn how to make things like pineapples and to grow banana trees, because we don't do that very well. So it's in our national interest to trade with another country. They get the bananas, we'll ship oil out, and then we kind of have a mutually beneficial agreement. It is, yes, to our benefit, but ultimately it's about economics. It's not economical for us to try to be completely self-sufficient. North Korea has that stance. They try to grow everything, not rely on anybody, don't need to trade with anybody, although they do slightly with China. And that's very expensive, and it can actually be impossible. And in some situations, citizens need to give up a lot because you don't have that much freedom of choice. So it's in our economic prosperity pursuit that will make these kind of decisions. As well, conflicts are expensive. Canada generally stays out, and so we've chosen not to spend too much on our military, mainly because we don't have as much economic prosperity compared to, let's say, United States, who does spend a lot more on a military pursuit. And so a lot of our decisions are driven by economics. What is the best decision financially for us as a country, and will this be of benefit to us, or if it's too harmful, we should not pursue it. So those are the three main reasons why a country would pursue some kind of an action. To understand national self-interest, we need to understand the term foreign policy. So foreign policy is really just a country's official plan in how they're going to relate to other countries. So every country has one, even if their foreign policies, we don't relate to others. So that would be an isolationism type of a stance. When we're talking about foreign policy, it means what are your values and some of your key decisions around how you're going to relate to others. Are you going to, accept new immigrants into your country? Are you going to close off your borders for trade? Are you going to maybe charge high tariffs to people who try to, import or export products? So there's really a large amount of factors that can relate to this. Canada generally has a very well-received foreign policy. We're quite respected around the world for how we deal with other countries. We are seen generally as very open, very flexible, and we're very, what I would say, diplomatic. So people have this view of Canada as being quite easy to deal with as a country, and that's one of our core values. Is that written into the foreign policy? Be nice. No, but it's kind of our unofficial stance with other countries. Okay, so foreign policy is a plan of action that guides a government's decisions about its official relations. When we look at the United States, they've recently, Trump kind of proposed these ideas of a foreign policy of more isolationism, not as much dealing with other countries. So that is in relationship to their foreign policy. Another term that you need to know is called national self-determination. You will see the word self-determination used a lot in this unit as well through your textbook. And what it really means is just the power to control one's own affairs. So you all have a sense of self-determination. You can use that for individuals, for countries. And why do we talk about it here? Well, because one of the main pursuits really of a country is to have control over their own affairs. And we're going to look, you should have remembered from Social 10, a lot of the colonization and some of the problems that came from that and still stem today are because of countries who lacked the power to control their own affairs. So you need to know the term. It's really just a review, but it means you have control over your own decisions as a country. Okay? Not every country does. So we're going to explore more examples of national self-determination. It has been historically a struggle. We were a colony of Britain. So when we kind of gained our own independence, it had a smoother path to becoming recognized as our own independent state. But we have seen historically through a lot of conflicts, that it has not been easy for a lot of nation states to gain their own independence. And we're still seeing some struggles today. And so what we're going to look at in this unit specifically are some examples of how countries have really struggled, and a lot of conflict has been around countries who have controlled other areas around them. They don't want to give up the control, and the people who have been controlled do not want that anymore. So we're going to look at some of the sacrifices and some of the struggles, and has it been completely successful? So what we're looking at today, again, so we're looking at, when we are pursuing our national self-interests, who wins, who loses. We're then going to start throughout the unit to look at what happens when the pursuit of national self-interest and nationalism goes too far. And it gets to the point where you can't accept anybody else who isn't from your nation, and who doesn't identify with a specific group. We're going to look at the genocide. We're going to look at, unfortunately, we're going to look at the Holocaust. We're going to look at what we term nationalism that's gone too far, which is called ultranationalism. And that is a very extreme form of nationalism that promotes the interests of your state above all others. So you don't see yourself as a confident, respected state. It is this sense of nationalism that if they are not you, then this is a problem, and they either need to be eliminated or they need to be a part of you. And there's a really great divide in ultranationalism that we're going to look at through this unit. So that was the introduction to the pursuit of national self-interest, and I'll see you next time.
If you enjoyed this video, check out our website, online.plrd.ab.ca, and visit us on Facebook, Prairieland Online Academy. You can find out all that's going on with Prairieland Online Academy.